Hey guys, Kate here of Burn 1 with a new video. It's been about a week since I've come back from Japan working with Bushiroad as the English World commentator. If you guys were able to catch that stream, unfortunately they weren't able to actually stream the grand finals live. But luckily they have forwarded me the match video, so I'll be able to do commentary by myself over that, and I'll be sending that over back to Bushiroad within the next day or so. So hopefully they can edit that together and post it on their YouTube channel. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to post it on my YouTube channel or anything like that, so I'm just not going to touch any of it for now, and hopefully that stuff just gets out as soon as possible. So this video is going to be a little bit more bloggy, I guess, so we're not going to talk that much about Weiss Schwarz, I presume. So I'm just going to talk about the trip and my experience of working with Bushiroad at Worlds. So to start off, for those that do not know, I did end up being invited by Bushiroad to be the English commentator for the English side of Weiss, which was a great honor, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity that they gave me to do this, and it seemed like by the end of it they were very happy with what I was able to provide them, as well as possibly being able to work with them again in the future, which would be a lot of fun if they do decide to go that route and work more with other community members. I think that it'll be really awesome and really good for the community and really good for the game as it keeps growing. So I'm just going to talk about the part of my trips where I was with Bushiroad for Worlds. It was a 2-day event basically for me. The first day I was there for Bushiroad, it was at the UDX building in Akihabara. For any of you who know of that building, it's right by the station in Akihabara. As well, it's pretty famous, I guess, in Bushiroad because it's a place that I think the OG Love Live members sang at and stuff like that, and it always comes out as like a popular landmark in anime, especially when the people visit Akihabara. But yeah, so they had the player meeting and staff meeting at that building for the night before Worlds started. So it was really cool to meet a lot of people from around the world who play Weiss and also play other card games like Vanguard and stuff. While I was there, unfortunately, I think Bushiroad kind of dropped the ball just a little bit. They reserved a pretty small room for the amount of players that were going to be there, but it was a really cool dinner. They had food laid out for everyone, and they just had like a little quick talk, and then the rest was basically everyone meeting each other and drinking and everything like that. But I was actually there to meet who my other commentator was at the time. I did not know who it was. I wasn't even sure it was a girl or a man or what was going on here. I just knew that this was the event I was supposed to meet them at, talk a little bit to get to know each other really quick, and then so we can kind of work it out for the next day of how we're going to handle the commentating. So when I got there, unfortunately, the person that ended up being my other commentator for Weiss was Matthew. Some of you might know him as the one of the head people that manages, I guess, I want to say the English language marketing, I want to say. I didn't get his exact title. I wish I exchanged business cards with him, but unfortunately we didn't. But from when I talked to him a little bit, it sounds like he handles a lot of the marketing for Bushiroad, especially for the English side of the games. And he's worked a lot with, I think, Vanguard communities and stuff like that. And then I was able to meet him that night. We didn't really get to talk that much because I had to wait around like an hour to an hour and a half after the event started at the player meeting, because he was very busy working with registering other players and making sure everyone was there and doing his job for Bushiroad. So we chatted for a very quick, like 5 minutes at most after he was done, and just kind of got to know each other a little bit, and really quick talk about like how we're going to handle things the next day. Really cool guy. I was glad to meet him and stuff, and if he ends up hearing this video, it was great to meet you, Matt, or Matthew, whichever you like to go by, and hopefully we can work with each other again in the future. But going from that, I had to actually rush to leave Akihabara kind of early. I would have liked to stay and like drink a little bit more and like talk to more people, but unfortunately I was staying with a friend that lives in Chiba, and the area in Chiba he lives at, actually the line closes very early, so I had to leave Akihabara because my train ride was a little bit over an hour to get back to his place, and I was afraid that the local line would shut down before I got there, which would cause me to spend like $50 in taxi fare or like 2 hours of walking to get to his place, which I did not want to deal with. So the next day comes along. I'm required to meet at 8 a.m., which really blows, for me at least, because I'm so far out from the Tokyo area from where I'm staying. So my train ride, of course, was like an hour to hour and a half, depending on what was going on. And so I had to leave really early in the morning, around like 6 a.m. to make sure I make it there on time and give me enough buffer time just in case if something happens where like a train gets stuck or something and I have to hop to a different line. I get there in the morning. I meet up with Clinton, Riaz, and a couple other prominent members from the American community and stuff like that. We just chat a bit, and then finally they open up the doors and let everyone in. All the players get in, and then I'm directed around by some of you may know him, Alex and Richard, who both work for the American branch of Bushiroad in California. Kind of get directed around and finally get to go backstage to the streaming area, which was really cool. So this is the first time I've ever been, at least in the Japanese side of things, how they manage stuff over there. But the backstage place looks super professional. They had a lot of setups and everything for the streams, which was really cool. It was really cool just like being able to see backstage and see some of the inner workings of their streams and like how they manage stuff and everything. It was really nice. I was able to meet the two Vanguard casters. Their name is forgetting me. I'm like forgetting their name right now. But they were really nice. One of them I know, it seemed like he's done this before, whereas the other Asian guy, he seemed like it was one of his first times doing it. I'm sure they had a lot of fun casting together, especially since they had a ton of games to cast. Unfortunately, Weiss isn't as privileged as Vanguard. Vanguard, of course, gets way more screen time than Weiss Schwarz. Hopefully in the coming years that'll change. Maybe they'll get a couple different streams going at the same time, because I do know they have a stream going for the Japanese side as well as the English side at the same time. And Vanguard usually takes up a majority of that time, whereas Weiss usually only takes up about 45 minutes or so, and then Vanguard takes up another 10 hours of that screen time, which kind of sucks for us Weiss Schwarz players. So hopefully, something like that will change in the future, and we'll be able to get more content, especially for Worlds, because Worlds is pretty exciting for anyone that cares about the competitive scene. So that day, I was kind of like a last minute. I feel like this could have been handled a little bit better, but we got to make do with what you have. That day, I was just basically handed a script and was like, here, look at this right now, and make note of all the times that you need to be back here to do your stuff. And so I was reading through the script, and before everyone else knew, I was able to see that Batman was getting a Weiss Schwarz set, which was like pretty hype and very confusing at the same time. But I'm really excited to see what happens with that Batman Ninja set, since it'd be really cool if there's like more DC properties in Weiss Schwarz, which seems really weird but really cool at the same time. So I went over that and then was quickly rushed on stage to do the introductory really quick and then off again. And I ended up having to sit around for like 5 to 6 hours or so. So I just spent most of that time like walking around talking to players as well as checking out matches. And saw a lot of other familiar faces that I don't get to see that often because they live outside of the US. So that was a lot of fun, just walking around and seeing all the different players. But after that, finally, when they're in top 8, I get called over. I was watching a match that already started, and I get called over, and I was kind of excited because they were having me cast the quarterfinals of Weiss Schwarz, which I thought meant that I was going to be able to cast 3 games, which would be a lot of fun, being able to see all those games and cast the finals live. Because from what I understood, I was only going to be there to cast the finals. So my assumption was I was still there to cast the finals, but they were able to squeeze in more games or something like that. Unfortunately, I found out right after I was done with that game that they could not show the finals because of time restraints. A lot of games kind of went on longer than intended and stuff, and so which caused them to kind of push the schedule sooner rather than later, just so they can make sure to close everything on time and get everything done on time. Really sad about that, but luckily, like I said earlier, they handed me the footage for the Worlds, and I just recently got it about 1 day ago, so I'm going to try to pump out that later tonight or tomorrow and send it back as soon as possible. So everyone can see the grand finals or finals for English Weiss Schwarz, which will be a lot of fun. It was definitely interesting matchup, which I would have never really guessed would be the top 2 decks. Well, I guess it's kind of spoiled already for most players, but Konosuba and Persona 5. I had a feeling that Persona 5 could do well enough that it would make top 8. Not sure if it would be able to win the entire event. And going into Worlds, I was one of the few people that was advocating that Konosuba was probably one of the best decks to be on at the time. Well, not necessarily best deck, but depending on your matchups, as long as you dodge a few Attack on Titan players, I mean, there should be no real issue with Konosuba because it has a very powerful endgame. I'll be releasing an English Konosuba deck profile pretty soon, so watch out for that. It's definitely not the same version that was played at Worlds. I think the one at Worlds was really interesting. I've played with a version similar to that, going the whole 8-gate style of Konosuba for English, but after playing it a lot, I did not like how it turned out, so I just went back to the stock Soul gate version because I thought that one brought way more consistency at the top end, which also let you play a little bit more techie top end cards, which I thought was more powerful than having blank gate to be a little bit more consistent in hand and hand fixing and stuff like that. But yeah, so I was really it was kind of sad that I had to deal with that, or not deal with that, but like that I wasn't able to do more for casting. But hopefully in the future, like I said, they'll be able to provide more resources to the Weiss Schwarz community so we can get more casting in and just more spotlight time for Weiss Schwarz. I think it'd be really cool if they start casting or at least live streaming the regionals. And honestly, I wish they would come off of YouTube and move over to Twitch so I can get some good Twitch emote chat going on because YouTube... the YouTube chat kind of sucks, and I think they could actually Boost Road could probably generate more income through Twitch by just having emotes that they could send out to subscribers for the event or whatever, which would be pretty funny to have a lot of like Weiss related emotes and Vanguard related emotes in chat. Would be pretty funny. Besides that, though, the event was really fun. It was probably one of the best handled events I've seen. Of course, though, this is way different than the American Weiss Schwarz teams because I know they work with a very limited, how do I say, I guess very limited resources compared to Japan, and especially since, you know, this is the world stage. Of course, they're going to spend a lot more time and resources on the world stage than they would at a normal regional. But it was really cool to see everyone. I know I met some people multiple times and kept forgetting their name with their face and stuff like that. I'm super sorry. I'm just so bad at names and like recognizing people. But yeah. So after Worlds, though, I did end up hanging out with Riaz and Clinton a little bit before they left, and then we all said our goodbyes. But what was really cool the following day was a couple days later, I ended up walking around Akihabara for a while with Dean, because we were just looking up stuff and buying some stuff for some people that ask for things while we were there. At the end of the day, I was waiting for my friend so we could go hit up this anime DJ bar that I've been eyeing at for quite a while to go chill out and like do the all-you-can-drink stuff. But while we were there, we went to this, it's like Card Tower, I think it is. I forgot. It's right next to Radio Kaikon. I've never been to that place before because it's kind of like hidden in the alley. Usually the stuff I go to is like far off of the Akiba Strip. But so we went there and looked around for stuff. We ran into Dandelion, I believe, from the Discord. If you guys are in the competitive Weiss Schwarz Discord. We ran into him, and he was telling us that there was players upstairs on the 5th floor currently playing. So I went up, Dean and I both went up there because we're like, you know, let's just chill here for a while, play some games or whatever, and then go our separate ways since that night I already had plans. Ended up meeting a group of Japanese players. A couple of them had decent English, and then the rest were like mostly, you know, could only speak Japanese, which was really cool meeting them. And I was talking to one of them, and they were talking about how Weiss Schwarz players use Twitter or whatever, and he was asking if you know, I could follow him on Twitter or whatever. And I ended up following him on Twitter, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, you already follow me. And it turns out he actually already knew me from the content I've been posting on YouTube, which was really cool and really funny, and like I was really surprised that someone would actually, that wasn't like already an English speaker especially, would recognize me from my YouTube content. So that was really cool. So I befriended him and his group of Weiss Schwarz players, and talking to him on Twitter a bit about Weiss builds and stuff like that. So it's really cool. I'm really happy that I was able to gain a new friend in Japan through Weiss Schwarz, actually, because most of my friends in Japan are either through family members or through work. So I don't really, they don't really play card games. And so whenever I ask them for stuff from Japan, they're always very confused. Besides that, though, it was really great to meet all these people. And if I met you there, it was great to meet you too. I really hope this coming year I'll be able to come out there a little bit more often. I know before I used to go like twice a year almost, but now the last couple years I haven't gone. But luckily I was able to make this trip out for Bushiroad and do commentation. So that was really cool. Besides that, guys, watch out for a couple videos coming out. I am doing a few match videos pretty soon that are commentated for Japanese national tournament, Japanese Weiss Worlds, as well as I'm going to be uploading a lot of shop challenge events pretty soon, because those are all happening around me right now. And so I'll be having those final matches up there. I don't know if I'm going to commentate those. Maybe let me know if you actually want them to be commentated. Otherwise, they're just going to be straight match videos on there. I did get that new camera, like I said, which is like a 4K camera. I'll be recording with a 4K camera and see how that looks. It has kind of like a fisheye lens almost, so you should be able to see most of the field and the hands of all players now. So hopefully that works out. But yeah, as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.